I call this short story Man on a Bicycle, and I wrote it back in 2015 before the events that take place in this story ever happened to my knowledge, but perhaps it was prophetic because it came true in a sense. And here it is. Here and there was a man of strong conviction and no direction, resembling 60, aged 39 years and countless hours. In a city of plenty, there were more than a few discarded items to spare, and he was one. Each day, at infrequent intervals, he would roll down to a pier in a park. More than 100 times thus far this year, he rolled himself out to a lookout spot, on a bicycle built for one. Not far into the lean, on the edge, he did one afternoon, filled with no particular promise, spy something with his eye, something red, something in the water. Being naturally curious, but mainly uncomfortable with wetness, he remained on land. The half-drowned thing bobbed and sputtered as if it had a life of its own. Something unsettling was happening within him as well, as if he had a life of his own. Cautiously, he set down the bike. Noting there were various park dwellers and their significant others who might notice him, he ventured slowly, stealthily, moistfully into the water. His right shoe was the first casualty. After that, it all made sense and of little consequence to the left. With not so much as a whimper, he leapt. It was cold at first, and at second. Really, it was pretty much a cold experience, yet exhilarating. His heart had known so little of this exercise, of surviving discomfort. He didn't want to make waves. Slowly, uncharacteristically, he trudged toward the thing. Now he was nearing the point of connection with the unknown, and it happened. A park dweller noticed. Soon, others of various wandering tribes also took an interest in the voyager. He was a celebrity. Well, perhaps not on a worldwide scale, but he was doing something spectacular and vaguely illegal before an audience, so that, by definition, regarded him as less a vagrant and more a contestant. Cell phones began to emerge, capturing his descent. Actually, there was no climbing or singing to the episode. He was merely wet and non-violent. In one single swoop, the toy truck of plastic, half-floating quality was his. Some kid may have tossed it from a car, from an overpass. Some adult mayn't have noticed. No one had. It was not revelatory or scandalous enough for supermarket newsstands, and yet he felt as though a miracle had occurred somehow. On the trudge back, he walked into a fully submerged shopping cart. He hadn't planned on a shopping trip that day at the park, but volunteered, nonetheless, to retrieve the sunken wreck, once home to packaged dreams. It felt good, finding something abandoned and rescuing it. It was in a state covered in moss and murk, unkempt, but mostly intact. Both he and his things reached the shore. Viewers with cells kept ablazing, right on viewing, and none offered assistance, but none was needed. Steadily he raised himself up to unwet rocks and other debris that littered the river's edge. Mud, water, and forgotten dreams seethed through the caged walls of the abandoned cart. He tossed the truck into the cart's upper tier, once home to infants not allowed to shop. With no fires to attend to, it landed there willingly, just happy to be discovered. For moments, lasting a while, he stood there just dripping from the pants down, and from the neck up he remained unmoved. Stragglers and cyber gawkers, though, began to dwindle, and his celebrity was over as far as they were concerned. Now he was just a wet vagabond with a shopping cart. Nothing new or desirable. The cell phones flickered and darted away like fireflies at dusk, and he was alone. The ducks swam by. They did not notice any special change in their environment. At least they didn't mention it. No one did. He sat on the rocks. Not far and to both sides of him were remnants of wrappers and bits of bags, all once home to fleeting delights since past. They too lay unnoticed. Society's discards have no home to return to. So he reached over, retrieving a bottle, crushed and capless. He felt its parched, roughened surface. Somebody once paid for this. They wanted it. And wants are like waters trickling from one rock to the next. He casually tossed it into the cart. Another empty package, left crinkled and capsized, also found a new home in the reservoir of consumer desires. His feet were feeling quite sloshy as he reached deep down to the silty bottom for another piece of garbage. And up and down the water's edge, all the debris of past wishes found a home in the rusted cart under lengthening slices of late afternoon sun. Then again, it happened. Someone else noticed. He, the someone, stood on the dock, watching the filling of fallen things by the fallen fellow, and a cell phone again appeared from some darkened pocket. Without warning, someone moved toward him. Off the dock and into the rocks, a man of in-between value and societal strata reached toward a fallen thing. It, too, landed in the cart. Soon the cart was filling beyond its expectations. The ducks took notice. Another man, this time with a woman, joined in. The park was a-buzzing, and throughout the entire movement, no one had stolen his bike. Cells, souls, and soiled hands met with something to do beyond walking by. It was an event. The evening news would close with a 2-minute human interest story of a spontaneous river cleanup that happened that afternoon. It was neither planned nor sanctioned, but mentioned it was. Video filled the screen of smiling park walkers next to a broken shopping cart of discarded goods. Somewhat less wet the next morning, the man again stood at the water's edge, and life somehow felt a little more tidy. In his hand, a small fire truck, freshly cleaned, awaited a fire, or at least a firehouse in which to await a fire. It would not again be abandoned, children still being born and strolled in parks. Once a month, the man, lately resembling 39 years, would return to this spot along the waterway, seeking the refuge of refuse from unknown significance. Others may help, others may not. That didn't matter. He was no longer a discarded man on a bicycle. He was arriving and leaving. He was filling bags and bins, and a role assigned to himself, by himself, unpaid, unhindered, but not unnoticed. Once a month, he changed the world, and the ducks swam by. April 6, 2015.